Good evening. Tonight I'm going to be showing you some of the new features that are in Flash CS5.5. Now there are probably other features that I'm not covering here, but again I just want to go over what the main ones are, the ones that get me excited. So one of the things that's built in now is developing for Air for Android. Now if you've downloaded extensions that we've had, you've already gotten used to this, but now we can develop here for Air for Android, and we have a nice UI very similar to the iOS packager UI, where I can put in all my information here, deployment icons, set permissions, all of that stuff. So it's now built into Flash. Now another thing is the Air version that's inside of here is actually Air 2.6, so we can actually target either Air 2.6 or 2.5. So we're going to get all of those nice mobile optimizations now using the 2.6 version of Air. So again, that's now built in. So one of my favorite panels inside of Flash is the code snippets panel, which was introduced in Flash CS5, and there's been some updates to that panel, so let's look at it here. So one of the things you'll notice is there's a whole bunch of new snippets that have been entered. So we have Air snippets, but we also have Air for mobile snippets, mobile actions, so things that you're going to want to do on a mobile device, move something with accelerometer, you want to respond to mobile gesture events, touch events, all of that stuff is now in here for you. So a bunch of new snippets. There's also a new heads-up display. So if I go to, let's say, animation, and if I click on something here, you can see this little heads-up display, and what I can do is I can actually show the code, and it pops up this little window that I can actually preview what the code looks like. And you can see this kind of, let me actually find one that has a little bit more code to it. You can see the way the code is actually written here is kind of interesting. This is actually something kind of called code typography. It's just an interesting way to kind of make code a little bit more readable. You know, it's up to you to determine whether it's more readable or not. But some interesting things going on here. So again, the ability to preview that code and obviously insert it, much like you used to be able to do. So again, those are some of the new things in the code snippets panel. So another really exciting feature here is the ability to share symbols across multiple FLA files. Okay, so I just have this little donut shape, and I'm going to convert it into a movie clip. I'll just leave the default symbol name here. So now obviously if I look in my library, I have that movie clip. So now if I create a new FLA, what I can do is go to Insert, New Symbol, Movie Clip, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference that symbol in that first FLA that I was working in. So I'm going to click Source File, and I'm going to go to that one FLA file, which is that first one, and it's going to let me choose from any of the symbols that are in that FLA. So I'm going to choose symbol 1, click OK. I'm going to click Update Automatically, and when I click OK now, we can see inside of this library we have that same symbol. So now if I go back here, go inside of here, and now I modify this. So let's say I want to change the color of this. Okay, so now I have this green gradient. If I save this now and I come back here, we can see this file has also taken those changes. So again, now we have a single symbol that's shared and linked across multiple FLAs. So this can be a really handy feature for you if you want to reuse symbols across multiple either projects or sub-projects. So another new thing which can be very handy when working in Flash, if I create a new document, first of all, you'll see that this window has been redesigned. But there's a nice feature here, which is the autosave feature. So if I check that off, I can now set how many minutes I want to basically to elapse before it's going to autosave. But again, it's going to autosave my FLA as I'm working. So this can be helpful because, of course, we've all had that situation where you're working for a while and then bang, something happens and you forgot to save your work. So this autosave feature is definitely a nice thing to have. And while I'm in here, there's also some new Air for Android templates, swipe gallery to learn about how to use the swipe gesture, creating an options menu, and that type of stuff. So good stuff in there. And I'm not going to save that. Okay, so next thing I want to show you is, let me just delete that. So I'm just going to create a rectangle. And we can see, let's say I'm really happy with this. And I'm not really going to want to edit it anymore. But again, this is a vector shape. So what I can do is select it, go to Modify, and say Convert to Bitmap. So now this is actually going to convert that vector shape into a bitmap. And if I look in the library now, we can see I have a bitmap in the library. So just really simple, but a really quick way to be able to rasterize and turn vectors into bitmaps, which is especially helpful if you're doing mobile optimization and things like that. So another kind of similar thing is, I'm going to just go ahead and create another rectangle like that. And now if I go ahead and convert that into a symbol, I'm just going to turn it into a movie clip. And now with it selected, if I go to the Properties panel, we can see under the display section here of the Properties panel, one of the and hold on 1 second. Got to stay hydrated. One of the nice things is we can finally now set visibility on a movie clip right from the Properties panel. So let's say you had a something and you always had to write at the top of your action script, blah 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 is not visible. Well, now we can do it directly in here, which is really nice. Another change is this render menu. So this is how we're going to render this at runtime. So original no change is obviously going to render it whatever you did in here, which in this case is a vector, which is maybe not what you want. So what you can do is obviously cache as bitmap. Again, we've all used that before. The other thing, and I can actually show you a little bit better if I edit this. So I'm just going to bring in the corners of this. Okay, so there's my vector movie clip. Go to the Properties panel. If I choose Export as Bitmap, it's basically when I publish my movie, it's actually going to turn it immediately into a bitmap. So that caching of vector assets isn't going to need to happen at runtime. It's going to do it right here. And another interesting thing is I can either set the bitmap background to transparent or opaque. And if I choose opaque, I can choose what the matte color is behind it. So again, just really simple things here, but this is the type of stuff that will really save you a lot of time, especially when we're dealing with needing to optimize things, turning things into bitmaps and things like that. Okay, so that's that. Now, one of my favorite features, the feature that I've been wanting for forever in Flash, is, and let me just actually create something here, create motion tween. There we go. It's my award-winning animation. Let's say I have this layer with 50 keyframes and all this intricate stuff. I want to copy it. Couldn't do it previously. I could copy all of the individual frames and things like that. But now we can just right-click, copy layers, and then go wherever I want, paste layers. Paste layers. Okay, so I can now copy and paste full layers, which is a really exciting thing. If you've ever done a lot of Flash work before, you always want to be able to copy and paste layers, bring them into different symbols, things like that. So big feature there, big time-saving feature. All right, let me undo this. Okay, what's next? So if we look at the property inspector here, we can see we have some new options here. This has been redesigned. So if I go into publish settings, First of all, this window, the publish settings window, has been completely redesigned. So I have my publish formats. Again, here I can choose SWF, SWIC. Again, they used to be in some weird places here. I can choose other formats here if I want. Most of these things are the same, but again, we have some new options to choose from. Now, another thing we can do is here, we used to call it profile, but now it makes a lot more sense. Now we choose player, what we're going to target. We have some new options here. Again, mostly the ones that you're used to. If I come out to the main property inspector, we can see arguably the most useful feature. It's right up there with being able to copy and paste layers, is the ability to change the width and the height of the stage directly from these scrubby sliders. And you can see when I do that, I see it instantly updated here, which is really, really nice. Just a great feature to have. Another feature beyond that is if we go into the little wrench there for document settings. Let's say, and here also I can adjust the autosave time. So let's say I want to scale this down or scale it up or whatever. We now have an option, and let me actually change that to 1,000, let's say by 800. We now have an option to scale the content of our FLA with the stage. So not only is this going to scale the document size itself, but also the assets that are on it, which is a huge time saver. If I click OK, we can see it's not only increased the size of my stage, but it's also increased the size of the objects that are on it. So when you've had huge timelines of stuff and you want to scale down an FLA, really hard to do, but now we have this nice feature that will scale everything down. So another big time saver. Now, another thing that's going to be huge for people, especially working on big projects. Let me just grab another little sip here. Is, let's say you have a project and it's got a lot of fonts, it's got a lot of video and audio assets. Every time you publish the FLA, it has to rebuild all of those assets, which can take a long time. We now have incremental compilation inside of Flash authoring. And if we actually go to preferences and go to this new publish cache, we can see caching exported fonts and sounds can reduce publish time. So if we enable publish cache, we can set how much size we want to use for the publish cache. But again, any assets that can be cached are going to be cached, so that each time you test your movie or publish your movie, you're not going to have to rebuild those assets. So your test times and your compilation times can drop pretty dramatically, especially if you're using a lot of those assets in your FLA. All right, what else? Another little feature, nice little controller here built directly into the timeline and into the motion editor. So we can now actually play, use these little controls directly from down here. I know it's not a big feature, but it is a feature. So I'm going to delete this. Now, what else? So TLF, there's been some improvements to TLF. Now, the improvements are smaller file size in your final SWF, so they're going to take up less space. Also, performance, they will perform better. And there's also a nice feature here of a built-in ruler with tabs that I can adjust here. So more options to be able to lay text out nicely here on the stage. But again, not only that, your TLF will also perform better and will take up less space in your FLA. So just scratching the surface here. That's the crazy part about 5.5. So those are the main features. Stay tuned. It's not going to be long until this is out there. I definitely think those productivity features alone, for me, that's huge. So that's a sneak peek at Flash CS 5.5.